Thank you, Presiding Officer. Interesting contributions from the Conservative benches. Adam Tompkins saying that we do not have all the answers here in this Parliament, and I agree with him. And Rachel Hamilton now saying that this Parliament is the Citizens' Assembly. Fundamentally different points of view. So there's obviously a difference of point of view in the Tory party. In the SNP, we have robust debates and ways of dealing with different points of view. But I think the thing I want to start with is the character and experience of the convener. I know one of them, I don't know the other. David Martin, when he was first elected as an MEP, in the 1980s, he came into the Bank of Scotland to meet some of the senior executives, and I remember sitting around the lunch table, because we were hospitable to David Martin, to hear the questions that he had and the responses he had to the issues that he was raising with us in the Bank of Scotland. So that's more than 30 years ago. So the one thing that David Martin brings to the table is objectivity. The second thing he brings to the table is experience. And the third thing that he brings to the table is a man who's honest in his political opinions. And they are not my political opinions. They are political opinions that come from a different tradition. So if we attack the Citizens' Assembly, we attack David Martin and his substantial record of public service and his preparedness to serve the public good and to serve the democratic deficit that there undoubtedly is, the democratic emergency that there is in these islands. Today's court judgment is just one part of a continuing failure of the democratic systems in the UK as a whole to solve major problems. Now, on climate change, I absolutely support the proposal that's come from the Green benches and been supported from the Conservative benches that we need to involve citizens more in the issue of climate change. I took the bill forward in 2009, and we had unanimous support then. I hope again we will do so here. But we're in an era of post-truth politics. Climate change is an issue. Globalization is a matter of debate. Our citizens have to be part of deciding our future. Now, in this, who is actually taking the risk by establishing the Citizens' Assembly? We in this Parliament have a majority in favour of independence. But we, who support that particular objective, part of a wider agenda, not standing on its own, we are taking the risk that this Citizens' Assembly, independent of government, chaired by someone who's been a lifelong opponent of the political philosophy that I espouse, can come up with a conclusion which will make me desperately uncomfortable. Now, I happen to believe that we will have convincing evidence and arguments that will lead them to a different place. But we are the ones taking the risk, those of us who support Scottish independence. The fact that the Tories will not take such risks, the fact that the Liberal Democrats will not take such risks, is very revealing indeed. So, Presiding Officer, we have an opportunity to recalibrate the way our democracy works. What is in front of the Citizens' Assembly lays out the way they can address issues, but they are masters of their own destiny. The Liberal Democrat amendment does not disagree with the remittent terms of the Assembly. I invite them to endorse them in their concluding remarks. And of course, the word independence appears nowhere in it. The UK's relationship with the devolved nations in general is changing, and indeed within England there are huge tensions across the geography and different experiences of people in different parts of England. So citizens' assemblies can be an important part of allowing countries to consider how they take themselves forward. In Ireland, the removal of the 8th Amendment to the Constitution was a suitable place for the Citizens' Assembly to contribute to the subsequent debate in the referendum. And very successful it was indeed. The referendum followed closely the recommendations of the Assembly. But more to the point, participants said that it made them consider the impacts of a proposal in ways they would never considered before. That's important, to rely on the deep reflections of fellow citizens who come without the baggage that every single one of us here as a party politician inevitably has. It brings honesty and openness to the deliberative process, and I congratulate our friends in Ireland showing us the way to reignite thoughtful dialogue. It's worth just briefly mentioning this issue of Brexit itself. If we had, in essence, 3 years ago, taken forward the post-2016 referendum deliberations via a citizens' assembly, I think we would have not got ourselves tied into the cul-de-sac that was laid down by the Prime Minister in January 2017, which has contributed to the failure of the political system to come to any meaningful conclusion. Presiding Officer, this is not really a debate about the government, the proposals from the government for an assembly. It's actually about the credibility of David Marsden, a man I've often disagreed with, but I continue to respect.